Well, folks, it's official. Eviction number 2 is underway. Welcome back, everyone. How to make this follow-up video. In a recent video I made called Landlord Lessons and the mistakes I made from the first eviction I had to deal with. And if you didn't see that content, well, it was pretty messy. Links are down below in the description of this video. I mentioned that I have a potential second eviction brewing, and it is confirmed, has been initiated. Eviction number 2 is underway, and my court date is approaching. So I want to talk about the lessons from this eviction, why it happened, what we could take away from this, and mistakes you could potentially avoid so that way it does not happen to you. So let's get started and dive right in. So yes, in my young real estate career, let's see, 2024, well, this June, it will have been exactly 3 years since I bought my first property. So less than 3-year-old landlord here. And yes, I have dealt with quite a lot, been through the mud, been through quite a lot of headaches in just my short few years as a landlord. And that includes a second eviction. So what went wrong here? What happened? Well, folks, on my second property that I purchased back in January of 2022, and so I've owned that property now for over 2 years, I inherited the tenant upstairs in the duplex that very risky. A lot of you probably would have not taken on this risk. However, I couldn't have purchased the property without taking on this risk. And looking back, this is going to be an excellent purchase, and I've already made so much equity in this property that I'm glad I did take on the risk, even though, unfortunately, it ended with an eviction and also some vacancies as well. So basically, upstairs tenant, I inherited them, did not screen them, not allowed to screen them. The property was not able to be delivered vacant from the seller. They said absolutely not, it has to be delivered with an upstairs tenant. Downstairs was delivered vacant. And this tenant, well, I couldn't ask for any income, couldn't ask for credit. Unfortunately, just had to take on the tenant and continue. They were on a month-to-month lease when I purchased the property. So yes, I could have technically just said, get out and this is it, time to go. But I gave the tenant a chance and I signed a lease with them. I did have to increase rent quite a lot. In fact, I had to increase rent several $100s because they were not at market rent when I purchased the property, well below market. And of course, me buying it at the new high purchase price and taking on that high existing debt, I had to raise the rent to make it worthwhile. And again, it was a risk, it was a chance, but I was willing to take it. So it went very smoothly. The tenant, of course, understood that I'm buying at the new purchase price. Were they extremely thrilled about paying several $100s more in rent than they were before? No, but I gave them the chance to stay, and I said, I'll take you on, don't have to screen you, don't have to pull your credit or anything like that. Let's just see how this goes. So they were great for, let's see, if they signed the lease February 2022, they were great for a year and a half. Unfortunately, fast forward to mid-2023, in July, they skipped a rent payment and just never paid it. Now, before that, the most they had ever been late with rent was just a few days. If, for example, first fell on a weekday, then they would pay rent on that Friday or the weekend. That's fine. I let them be, but they always paid rent and were never late where I would have to charge them a late fee. They were never that late. So finally, they skipped a rent payment in July 2023. Unfortunately, something went wrong with their job. Something happened. I don't know the exact details, but after that, kind of just went downhill. So basically, the way we approached that was there would be a late fee for every month that July payment was not paid off. Tenant agreed to that, said, no worries, you'll get your money. Slowly, they did start to pay it off a little bit on top of the extra rent payments, but now they started to get a little bit late with the months afterwards preceding. The payments started to come several days late, the rent payments, and now they still owe that July payment on top of it. They paid a few hundred here, a couple hundred here, a couple hundred here. Still, it was never paid in full. Now we fast forward to January of 2024. Completely missed that payment. February 2024, completely missed that payment. No rent from January or February. And I knew it was time to harp on that eviction and get it started right away, especially being in such a tenant-friendly state like New York. You do not want to delay things. You want to get on that eviction right away. That's a lesson that I did learn from the first eviction, that you really have to start these evictions the second that you know. Looking back in hindsight, I probably would have started this eviction much sooner. Probably going back to July, August is when I would have initiated the eviction with the experience and what I know now. But I wanted to give the tenant a chance because they were great for so long and did pay on time. So that's where we're at right now. I started that eviction beginning of February, just got my court date the other day. It is going to be for the end of April, and I guess I'll see the tenant in court if they show up. I don't know. This is Nassau County, so you're dealing with a very, very tough jurisdiction here, and it's extremely tenant friendly, and the process is probably going to be even longer than Suffolk, where my first eviction took place. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. It just comes with the territory, unfortunately. Now, with this eviction, we'll have to see. I can't tell you yet. I wish I had a crystal ball. Will the tenant accept and move out? You know, if we sign an agreement at court, usually, you know, the tenant and my attorney and myself would kind of sit together, come up with an agreement, and if they're out by this date, you know, then the eviction is not going to be in their record. They don't have to owe any money. If we come to that sort of agreement, I don't know. Who knows if the tenant will even show up to court? I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out, and I'll be sure to update you guys. Or will the tenant make an excuse? Like, for example, in the first eviction, you know, that first eviction, we did agree that they would be out about a month after the court date. Of course, they weren't, so then we had to get the sheriff involved, and it took many more months for the sheriff to finally knock on the door and kick them out forcefully. This tenant now is making a bunch of excuses with this eviction, saying they'll be out, they're waiting for an answer, they're waiting for a response on another place they're trying to move to. They actually are all packed up and ready to go. Their stuff is all in boxes from a picture I received. Who knows if that's realistic? I don't know, but I just can only assume that they're ready to go. But this tenant, unfortunately, it looks like we're just going to have to get the sheriff involved again, and they're going to have to be forcibly removed and kicked out on the street. It's unfortunate. You know, you try to have a heart, you try to have some sort of empathy and sympathy with the tenant, but, you know, unfortunately, you just got to take charge and put your foot down and eventually say, look, you know, we signed the contract. This is what the text says. This is what the language in that contract says. You didn't agree to it. You didn't hold up your end of the agreement. So here we are. I have to evict. It's just the way it goes. This eviction is a little bit different because we're approaching it as a holdover tenant eviction, because in the first eviction, right, they were still in the middle of their lease. In this one, their lease renewal was up February, and I said, I'm not going to renew the lease if you still owe money. Tenant understood. I did not renew the lease. So now we're approaching this as a holdover tenant eviction, and that's pretty much a slam dunk, right? It would be impossible for the judge to favor in the tenant's court because they're past their lease. They're a holdover tenant, well past their lease expiration. So hopefully I'll win this eviction. I don't see how I can't win, but you just never know in New York, and we'll have to keep you guys updated, and you guys will just have to stay tuned. Going forward, obviously, I'm going to have super strict criteria when it comes to tenants. I'm going to screen the hell out of them, have very high standards, very high bar when it comes to that credit and income, maybe even some previous references in there, right? That's all going to come into play in my future screening when it comes to tenants. Approach it extremely carefully and not rush the process, where I talked about this in that video, my landlord lessons and mistakes that I made, that you don't want to rush the process, right? Let's say, especially if you just bought a property, you're going to probably be desperate and anxious to get a tenant in there, but you want to take it slow and get all those applications in, look at everyone that applies for your property, and then pick the best person out of those applications. Going forward, if it comes to something like this, I'm definitely going to initiate evictions much, much sooner. The second a payment is missed or is late, I'll immediately get started in contact with an attorney and get their advice and seek their guidance, right? It's also great to have an excellent attorney on your side with lots of experience, great reviews. So do your research in your local area, see who's the best attorney when it comes to evictions and has a lot of experience doing them. It's unfortunate that all this has occurred just in a short few years of me owning property at such a young age, but it's just the hand I was dealt, and I'm gonna definitely take these lessons and put them towards my future career for decades to come, and hopefully I'll get something out of this, hopefully I learn something out of this, and hopefully it will not happen again. So I'm curious if you guys have any questions in regards to evictions, or maybe you want to share your experience with evictions down below in the comments section. If you are a landlord yourself, maybe you have any advice that others would like to know. Let's share and create a community down below in the comments section, and definitely give each other advice and give and take and pick our brains. So thank you so much for watching, folks. I hope to have more updates for you in the near future. Make sure you share this video with a friend, get the word out, spread on social media so that way they are in the know and have this information. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, smash the like button, make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on. If you guys want to get some free stocks, all on me, all free, use the link down below in the description. Sign up with Robinhood and you'll get some free stocks right now when you sign up with Robinhood. With that being said, folks, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care for now.